Welcome to the Million Dollar Multi-Op Podcast. Here, you're going to find education, entertainment, and a little inspiration on how to get to the next level. Are you a DJ company owner that's looking for the secret sauce? Congrats, you found it.
What is up, everybody, and welcome to the podcast. I'm David Osborne, your host with BlueprintLearn.com, and today we've got a special treat. My good friend, Matt Radicelli. You may know Matt from Rock the House in Cleveland, Ohio. Matt Hatter with his disco helmet on at multiple conferences over the past year, slaying some competitions, and most famously recently, Mentor Pods here in the business community and the DJ community. So welcome, Matt.
Thank you for having me, David. I appreciate it.
Yeah.
Ooh, sound effects. You didn't tell me there was going to be sound effects.
The sound effects are AI. They just pop up. They listen to our voice and they pop up. Actually, it's not true.
Okay.
Well, Matt, this is a treat because this is a podcast for multi-op owners who are looking to level up, who are looking to increase the size of their multi-op, the success of their multi-op, or even just more work-life balance so they can take their calendar back or, whatever that might mean for them. So I think today's a treat because you are uniquely positioned to help multi-op owners because you're a business coach. And I want to jump right in and offer some immediate value to our listeners and hit you with the first question of what are some of the biggest mistakes that you see multi-op owners making, particularly, younger, I don't mean in age, younger multi-op. I would maybe call them compact multi-ops. You're younger on your journey.
Absolutely. I'm uniquely positioned as a coach because the first 20 years of my career in the DJ space was running a multi-op, right? So I've seen lots of people come in and out of my lives that make some of these mistakes that I wish we could get everybody to avoid. The first one is not necessarily understanding when is the right time to add additional employees, because what they can do, as a multi-app owner, we can try to add or hire too early and thus sucking some of the valuable currency of the business out of it, which makes it really hard to survive because there's not enough money, to feed all the mouths that we have in the situation. So it's really important to understand that you have to wear many hats as a multi-op owner when you're trying to get into that multi-op space, but you have to know that statistically, we want to get to somewhere between $125,000 to $175,000 of revenue before it's generally, and I'm saying generally, there's probably some outliers out there. Generally, you want to get to that point before it's time to make that first nearly full-time hire, all right? And at that point, the mistake that we want to avoid is not learning to delegate early. So I want you to wear a lot of hats, but then as soon as you hit that point, now we got to flip it and teach you how it is to delegate and really trust some people, hire some great people, and then get out of the way. I'd say that's number one. The second thing is not understanding the concept of how overflow bookings work in the entertainment space. When you build a multi-op, generally what happens is the first person, you're so good that the phone rings off the hook and you're getting, Instagram messages like, oh man, you're so great. And the planner is blowing your email up, like whatever it is, it's happening all over the place. Okay. If that's not the case and you're trying to build a multi-op, you're going to have a harder time than other people that follow that path. So what I want to explain to you is that the mistake I don't want you to make is you either need to have the absolute best marketing engine that has leads coming out of your ears to give you a fighting chance to build a successful multi-op. But if you don't have that yet, your key, right, the magic pill of the situation is you just have to be great at what you do to the point that the leads come in over and over and over, because the overflow is what flows down to the rest of your team until they're amazing and exceptional. That is a major mistake that a lot of people make. The third one is that we don't capitalize on systems and processes early enough. If we don't identify the areas that we need to take all the things that make the business run and make them run smoothly without us and with the least amount of stress early on, all we do is compound the issues later when we wake up one day and realize we've got 2 or 3 or 5 or 20 crews that we're running. Oh, and by the way, we don't have a system for that thing. No, it's a major mistake. So I'd say those are the 3 things. Wear as many hats as you need to until you get to a certain point, then delegate. That's all baked into number 1. The second thing is you need to understand how overflow actually works and don't take your foot off the gas as a performer. You need to keep it up. And that third thing is capitalize and build those systems and processes as early as you possibly can.
Man, straight gold firing in the first 5 minutes of the podcast. Let's unpack that a little bit. So, number one, our friend, Jeffrey Craig Cyber, he says delegate or suffocate. And I think for me personally, over the past maybe 18 months, it's been a mantra of mine. It's something I struggled with for a long time, and I can't possibly explain just how different things are now that I have learned to delegate. But when you're taking that first step, to delegate to a full-time staff member or even a part-time staff member or even a DJ on the team that you think is fantastic and you want to give some responsibility to, what do you look for?
Well, we have to hire or trust the right people to do the right jobs. You've probably heard that phrase, right seat on the bus, or wrong person, wrong seat, if you're looking at it from the other side of things. The delegate or suffocate thing is interesting because our target audience for this podcast today, they're really, really troubled in this way because they don't know, or sometimes they don't have anybody, or maybe there's not enough money yet to delegate to. But the key point is that we need to make lists and keep notes about the things that can be delegated and how we identify what that comes to. I think the easiest way to do it, if we were trying to boil this down for our kids, is to say, what is below your pay grade, right? What's the thing that takes up time in your day that you could probably hire somebody for much less than you're currently making, or for 15, 18, 20 bucks an hour to do, or a virtual assistant. And if we keep a running list as we go about our way, every day, every week, every month, and we keep that list running, it starts to form into this thing that becomes the job responsibility or job description for a part-time employee. And that's a beautiful thing, because instead of force feeding it or trying to copy that other person in the industry that that's like, hey, I just hired an assistant, or I just hired a full-time office manager, which by the way is usually BS, but I'm just putting it out there. If you find your own way and you just make this list of the stuff that you just don't like doing, or is below your pay grade, or is sucking up time because you can't go to your kid's soccer game, then a job description finds it, and then we just have to go find that person. It becomes a lot easier to do that. Man, your AI is on point.
Let's go, AI.
Woo-hoo.
It's more like IAN. That's a joke.
Wow. It's good. That was good. And the listeners have no clue what you're talking about.
Maybe. They'll have to look at, we'll have to do a solo cast with Behind the Curtain. Maybe once we get 100,000 subscribers. So in 2030. I like the analogy. You talk about the overflow of leads. The visualization I like to use, or the mental image I like to use of that, is if you in movies, particularly unless you're going to some high-end parties, the idea of the champagne glasses. You pour into the first champagne glass, and then it overflows into the ones below it, and the ones below it, and the ones below it. And if that top one stops, it's a trickle-down effect. And that's something that I think a lot of people that are existing multi-app owners that are transitioning into working more on the business than in the business can also experience as well. So I think a lot of listeners might experience that, where what happens if you take that first champagne glass away. But I think it's a good visualization, but you just said it too, that you got to have that marketing engine. You got to have that thing that keeps pushing that forward. And then third, let's talk about systems and processes. I don't really know how to tell someone how to create a system in a pretty concise way. Do you?
I think I do. I think that, well, first of all, we all have systems. If we take anybody who's a really great entertainer naturally, and then we say, hey, what's your system of how it is that you go set up a job, or what's your system of your sales? If anybody's doing a volume, of dozens or 100 events a year, they have a system. What I'm saying is, have you documented it? Have you taken the time to be interviewed by a friend or a colleague and say, okay, tell me about your system. Let's say step one, I'm on a call with the person. I ask them about them. I do some small talk. I wait for them to ask questions. Like, we all have systems for what it is that we do. Some of them were designed, some of them were learned, some of them we just tripped into. What I'm saying is that we need to document those things and make them easier to be handed over or compared against, or compared and contrasted. So when we hire our next team members, we have standards. We have things that the measuring stick lean up against in order to say, when you set up your job, this is what it looks like. When you are communicating with your client before the event, let's say like an MC phone call, if you're the type of multi-op that assigns your DJs weeks or months out, This is the pattern of communication. That is the standard, the system. So I know the question was, I don't know how to tell somebody simply. You just need to go write it down. And then once we've written it down, we need to test it and make sure that what we wrote down was actually the truth. Because every once in a while we go to make a system, this is bad. And we try to improve what it is that we do because we're writing it down. Like we're trying to be aspirational to make it better on paper. It's a horrible idea because it breaks when you try and test it. It doesn't work the same way that it did. So there you go.
Yes. I think the second step is crucial because I think a lot of people probably understand the idea of documenting something, or if you tell them, hey, go write the steps down. Most people can think through the steps. It's the idea of then testing it, taking the system that you wrote down and then try to do the thing following your system to see what you left out is kind of that's the second step. That's the second summit, I guess.
There's another connection there, though. You have a hard time, just like it's more difficult for us to proofread a letter that we spent a day writing. Somebody else needs to proof it because we're too close to it. Systems are really intended to be tested by someone else. So we need to find a friend or a colleague and say, hey, test my system, and let's see if you can end up with that same result. That's how we truly test systems when we're just starting out.
I love it. We could probably have an entire 3-hour podcast just on system building. Let's transition a little bit to talking about, not just the mistakes that multi-op owners make, but the desires that multi-op owners have, which one of them is getting control of a calendar and being able to choose the dates you work. But another one is understanding profitability as the jet fuel for the business, because without profit, the business doesn't continue. And we'll talk about this in a minute, but I've been in business this is my 16th year in business. And for most of it, I don't think I accurately understood the way profit works. I think I thought of profit as it's just the money that you have. And I think it's a little bit more nuanced than that. And so since you're the one who helped demystify the full process for me, why don't you kind of just talk us through, maybe third, fourth grade level, what is profit? How does it work? How do you figure out what your profit is?
Profit is not a mystery because it's just math, but it is mysterious to a lot of people. And the easiest way to do it, third or fourth grade level, is to think about a client handing you an envelope when you get to your gig, right? As a DJ or as a multi-op owner. And there's a bunch of 20s inside that envelope. And I only say 20s because we're going to have to break that up in a second. What I want you to think about is that as a multi-op owner, I want you to take that envelope that's got, let's say it's got $1,000 in it, just for round numbers. Now I'll lower that to 1,000 in my head. And we're going to pay our DJ staff, let's say $300 out of that. We're going to pay somebody who's DJing and helping us out $300. We're down to $700. And then we've got some gas because it took us like a half hour to drive to where we were going. So we're going to take $20 out of there, so we've got $320 of cost out of there. It's going to take us another $80 in additional things. Maybe we bought some music for it. We bought some gaff tape. Maybe we had some Cold Sparks powder, we were putting into it. Maybe we got ourselves down to spending a total of about $400 on that job. That's what's known as cost of goods sold, or COGS, or variable cost. These are the things that I had to pay for just to go do that job. All right. And what I'm left with is, out of that $1,000, about $600. That means that my margin on it was about 60%. So the mysterious part about that is we think that what we have sitting in our bank account is actually the profit, but it's not that easy, because there are costs that it took to drive the business, and those are known as fixed expenses. And those fixed expenses are things like the rent, if you have an office, or maybe you're paying for your monthly subscription for your Calendly, or for your CRM, or whatever that might be, right? All these things that you have running, they bite away at your fixed expenses on a monthly basis, because those expenses happen whether you have DJ jobs or not, okay? What you're left with after all of that happens is your profit. And that profit is sometimes very confusing. And I think this is probably, we could spend a whole lesson on this too. When you go and get excited and buy yourself a new set of speakers, or a DJ controller, or you're going to go buy some new intelligent lighting, or whatever it is, right? People assume that in itself is a way that to expense it, and it's easy, and like, hey, I just bought some stuff. Where does it sit? Well, it's still profit. The thing is that the money that you made that you used to go do that thing is still profit. And unless you understand how to do your taxes a very certain way, you still have to pay tax on that money. So at the end of the day, I'm not trying to be confusing with that last part, because that definitely wasn't fourth grade level. Profit is what we end up with after we pay all of our bills. And we have to understand that there's really only a couple things we can do with that money. And if we borrow money, using profit is part of how we pay it back, which sounds a little confusing, but like, we can't pay debt unless we have profit. We can't take bonuses unless we have profit. We can't pay our taxes. Paying your taxes isn't a tax write-off. And that's confusing in itself. Most people that are listening to our podcasts are like scratching the head right now going, wait a minute, you're kidding me. That check I wrote isn't a write-off? No, it's not. You're using profit to pay taxes. You're using profit from this year to pay taxes from last year. Anyways, profit is what you end up with when it's all done, but your bank account doesn't necessarily reflect that. And if you are lucky enough to consistently grow your business and your bank account is increasing, that's great. We all have these like gut instincts and ways that we just make things work. That's awesome until you get to the next level. Until you level up in the next phase of business, that style of running your business may not cut it for much longer. And everybody who's on this podcast is either looking to grow their multi-op or get into that place because they're growing out of a compact situation into a full-size multi-op. You need to change how it is we're looking at some stuff. There you go. I've been talking a long time, David. The floor is yours.
Young money, that's right. Hey, and profit is, I think that's one of the things that I didn't really understand about profit, was that so many things that we're paying for are coming out of profit. Profit's not just the money that goes into the owner's pocket. I mean, that can be a part of it, but it's really not. There's so many other components, like you said, asset creation and, or investing in assets, tax money, paying down debt. A lot of that small percentage that's left at the end of that event is still going to something else. So being able to track it, being able to pay attention to it, understanding P&Ls and all those different things is clutch. It's crucial to being able to track and know where your money's going. And I think that's actually a great segue to talking about Mentor Pods. Now, one of the primary reasons I wanted Matt to come on this podcast is the Mentor Pods program. And I'm going to let Matt kind of share what it is and give you an explanation of what that is. And then I share a little bit about how it's helped me.
Cool. Well, we teach small business owners and their core teams how it is that they can double their profits, build systems and processes, and basically improve every single part of their business. The one thing we don't do is exactly what you do, David. We don't teach you how to be a better DJ. We don't teach you how it is to, go out the network. What we do is we work on the things that are the missing link for most small business owners and solopreneurs in the difference between being talented and being successful. The things that we do inside Mentor Pods are all the things that we believe are necessary in order for you to really know that you're going to take those talents and turn it and them into success. So on a weekly basis, we work with business owners and their teams. We teach them very specific lessons, things they didn't even know that they needed to know. And every single week, we give them optional exercises to improve what's happening in their lives. All right. So you have experienced the program. You understand that we're going to teach you things like how to install scorecards in your business, having to do with your financials, your sales, your marketing, your operations, your quality control. Then we're going to teach you about how to avoid the shiny things, how to avoid all the distractions that are happening around you. And that, hey, everybody listening, you're in a DJ and multi-op situation. 70% of your income is going to come from referrals. And we need to capitalize and make sure that those systems are finely tuned to make sure that we are getting every drop of potential revenue and referrals out of all of our client partners, our family, our friends, our existing clients, past clients, like all over the place. We got to really capitalize on that. Mentor Pods does that. Mentor Pods takes 18 to 24 people in a specific pod. We stay together for a whole year, right? You're not just a number. We know your name. We know all about your business. We jump on, we share experiences, we share challenges, we share opportunities, and we talk about how it is that we can best capitalize on all of those items. And it's fun. I can just say it's a wild ride so far, and everybody enjoys the program. And what was it we just released? You heard about it? 96% of the people in the program report that they have increased profitability in less than 3 months. I think that's pretty darn awesome. I don't know what else to say. You tell me. Why don't you tell me about your experience in Mentor Pods and why it's great? You tell me.
Yeah, I want to lead with this. I thought this came to me while you were talking. Mentor Pods is teaching you how to work on your business. So the blueprint and what I do and what we do, it's teaching you to work in your business. So it's teaching you the core skills like Matt was saying, but Mentor Pods is teaching you how to work on your business, which isn't a skill that most DJs have. Things like management, things like scorecards and tracking your social media engagement and how to figure out how much money you're actually making per hour. All of these things are working on the business, and that's how you really get the business to the next level. And it's been crucial. It's been instrumental. It's been profound, the differences that I had in 12 months of being in the Mentor Pods program. There were a few lessons that I feel like I was already strong in, but that was a small percentage. Most of the things that I was exposed to or learned, there was so many aha, like mind blown moments that I was like, what? Just that perspective shift that was huge. And I was in pod 1, and we came from, an existing group of people and friends. That's the OGs, people that came, that were already existing in a little group, the Monday morning meetup that we met every Monday morning just on our own. And then we got sauced up. Basically, we got together with Matt and we're the first pod. And I love that adage of show me your friends and I'll show you your future. Because some people will say it like, if you hang around 5 millionaires, you'll be the 6th. But one of the best parts of Mentor Pods is that you are in community with other people that are successful in different ways than you are. And that is your community and is part of your future and helps dictate your path. But that's been my experience.
You're on fire, man. The show me your friends and I'll show you your future. I just wrote that down because I've heard the quote before, but I love it. I absolutely love it. I'm going to have a conversation later about this concept I have in my brain about your orbit and who it is that's in your orbit absolutely affects and persuades and changes how it is that you think about everything around you. And I've got this holistic approach to learning and in general about business. And that's that, in the program, neither of us mentioned this yet, but every single week is about something different. So one week we'll talk about sales, then we'll talk about marketing, then we'll talk about systems and process, and then we'll talk about something personal having to do with like time management or work-life balance. And then maybe we talk about how it is to build a budget. Like it's different every single week. And isn't that how our business is? It's like we're consistently being hit with things. We're like a goalkeeper trying to keep the ball, out of the goal. That's how life and business is. And I think we just try and do that. And you nailed it, in a group of people that want the exact same thing, which makes it even more enjoyable and even more valuable to us. And
Yep.
Yeah, man, good job.
We're all trying to cross the stream together, just, but coming at it differently. Okay, that's a lot of value. I mean, we just packed a tremendous amount of value. I guarantee you learned something you didn't know. And for the one person out of 10,000 that maybe knew everything, let's get a little bit personal. Matt, tell me, who's a guilty pleasure artist of yours? Someone that you love listening to?
Ooh, guilty pleasure artist. I'm going to say that I can rock out and listen to Stevie Wonder in whatever mood that I'm in. Let me go with Stevie.
Is that because he has songs for every mood? Maybe songs in the key of life?
I didn't know if you were trying to tie that together or not, and I wasn't going to go there. Let my face tell you that it didn't go there the first time around. But I think it's because my dad taught me to DJ, when I was very young, and I learned a lot from him and my mom about business and stuff. And I just think that when I think about the soundtrack of what's happening, I can generally pick a Stevie song in any given situation, drop it down, and like put it over what's happening in life, and it makes me smile. So my brain went directly to Stevie.
I love it. And 2 more questions. Number 1 question, what is the only acceptable label of tequila?
It's not really what the question is, and I feel like you're trapping me right now with this question. Yes, in life I have
Okay, in your opinion.
consumed and prefer to consume. I'm moving in my chair here. I'm a little uncomfortable with the question. I prefer to consume Patron Silver because my
Okay.
body metabolizes it extremely well, and I can drink anyone under the table. as it relates to that. So yes, that was a dare. That was a challenge. If we run into each other or anybody on this podcast ever, there you go. Patron Silver.
There it
Nice
is.
job. Nice job.
There it is. Okay, Matt, where can we find you in public at a conference in the next 6 to 8 months? Because I want this to be fairly evergreen. What are some shows that we'll see you at, maybe in 24, or at the end of 23 and 2024?
I'm consistently, on the circuit. I think that, the shows do a great job of moving presenters around, but this year we're talking Wedding MBA, Cater Source TSC, DJ shows like, Harvest of Sound, and then moving into next year, I'll see you guys over at Midwest DJs Live and Marquee. I mean, like, I'm all over the map. DJX, yeah, I'm sure I forgot a few of them, but I work in the circuit. I'm available. I'm easily reachable at any time, though. If everybody hits up mentorpods.com/blueprint, what I've done is I've put a real quick contact form there that as soon as you enter your info, I'll send you all of my contact information, and know that you came through this podcast, so I know exactly what it is that you're looking for and the trying information you're consuming, so I can help you out. So yeah, man, mentorpods.com/blueprint, and we can connect.
Great. And we'll put that in the show notes so that if you're driving, that's the way I generally consume podcasts, is when I'm driving. So if you can't write it down right now, we'll put it in the show notes so that you got it for later. One last thing is a lot of the resources that Matt has are next level, are amazing. There are a few free resources, blueprintlearn.com/resources. We've got a few free downloads that can help you. A few of them touch on some of the things Matt touched on, like profitability, and also on checklists for your DJs and their skill sets and systems and things like that. So Matt, thank you so much. It's been a pleasure, and I learned a few things listening to you today. So thank you so much.
Thank you very much, David. I appreciate it. Thanks.